This special Hugh Jackson interview episode of the Orange and Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network, is brought to you by us, the Press Play Podcast Network. We're bringing you new podcast almost every single week, and recently we've launched a handful of shows. If you can give me a few moments to talk about them. Just a couple months ago, we launched the Phenomenal CBD podcast. Check that out to learn all you need to know about CBD and THC, its health benefits, its legal journey, and everything else in between. We launched the Premier Fantasy Podcast, hosted by fantasy guru and expert Tito, formerly of 97.1 The Fan in Columbus. This show brings you fantasy football, basketball, and baseball insight and advice. Stay one step ahead of your league with breakdowns of all the quarterback movement in the NFL and what that means for you and your team. You got to check that out, the Premier Fantasy Podcast. We've also launched a podcast called Up Next. Really excited about this one. Up Next is hosted by Kristen Aviles and Christina Walter, who are actors in Chicago. They break down all your favorite streaming content you can find on Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, and wherever else and whatever else you should be watching. They're brilliant, they're funny, and I guarantee you're going to like them. Check out that podcast, Up Next. And our two newest shows, the Dennis Maniloff Show and Red Guy and Road, to cover all your sports talk needs. And we couldn't be more proud or thrilled to have them with us on Press Play Podcasts. You can find all these shows and more on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you get your pods. In this episode, Jeremy and I talked to former Browns head coach Hugh Jackson. Hugh surprises us both by giving us a scoop on his next coaching venture. We have a candid conversation about the Browns and Hard Knocks. We look at the current Browns roster and stack Baker Mayfield up against the rest of the NFL. This is a super fun show, and we did our best to stay away from the finger pointing and the negative rhetoric that has surrounded Coach Jackson in the last few weeks, just to talk football and get to know him as a person. We think you'll enjoy it. It's a great show. We had a ton of fun. Thank you again, Coach Jackson, for the time. Jim Donovan, take us away.
45-40, run, William, run! He's got blockers in front, 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribbs! Snap back, ball down, can't block! They blocked the kick!
This is the Orange and Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. I'm your host, Chase Smith, and with me, as always, Browns insider Jeremy Powell. Jeremy, we can smell the draft, man. It is weeks away. What's up, buddy?
Chase, what is going on? Different kind of year for us, as we talked about. Normally, the draft is our Super Bowl. This year, it's a little different, picking towards the end. But today, we have a absolutely special guest. Can't wait to get it started. Chase, why don't you introduce him and let's roll.
With us, with 34 years of NFL and collegiate coaching experience, the last time you saw him was on the sidelines for your Cleveland Browns, former head coach Hugh Jackson. Coach Jackson, thank you so much for joining the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So we wanted to kind of jump in. You have some pretty cool opportunities coming up, maybe returning to the collegiate level. Seen rumors around with Tennessee State and Eddie George and maybe Georgia. Coach, what excites you about the possibility of coaching collegiate football again?
First of all, it's coaching. You know, at the end of the day, I just enjoy coaching, love leading men, love being around the guys and getting guys to do the things that you don't believe they can do at a high level. Obviously, I can say this to you guys with 100% certainty. I'm going to go work for Eddie George. I'm going to be his offensive coordinator. Very excited about it. Eddie's obviously was one of the greatest college players and NFL players ever to play the game. Tremendous person. This is going to be his first opportunity. I'm just glad to be a part of it with him.
So, Coach, is this breaking news right now that you are joining Eddie George's staff? When is this official now? And how long ago did you come to that decision?
Yeah, you guys are the first I've told.
There we go.
This is breaking news. You guys got it first. It happened really a day ago, and I'm excited about it. Just excited to get back on the grass, coach players, get players better, and help a team win.
Looking at the NBA, Coach, we see kind of this AAU mentality influence basketball on the professional level, and we've seen that with the NFL as well, with the spread offense that you kind of helped develop at USC with Carson Palmer. Has that been a surprise? And you looking to kind of help continue that development with Eddie down there, Tennessee State?
Oh, absolutely. We'll do whatever our personnel allows us to do, whatever recruiting allows us to do. But we want to be exciting. We want to be innovative. We want to be cutting edge on the things we do. That's the plan. but you always have to do what your players are able to do. But those colleges that you mentioned, I think more schools are spreading things out, doing a lot more untraditional things per se. There's not fullbacks in the game anymore. People lining up and just running downhill. People doing all kinds of things, and that's what you have to do to score points nowadays.
So, Coach Hugh, which turned to Hard Knocks, that's such a difficult situation. What is it like navigating that as a coach with all the, everything going on already in the organization, and then you have to deal with cameras in your face 24/7? What is that like as a coach, and what is that like to deal with?
Never bothered me. Never bothered the coach as far as I knew. I had been on Hard Knocks before, so I didn't think it was intrusive in any way. They do a great job. They know what their job is to do. And again, I made the decision for us to be on Hard Knocks because I thought we were a loss-averse organization. I thought we needed to be under the spotlight for everybody to give their all at every opportunity. So I was all for it. I wouldn't change anything about it. I think it served this purpose. I think that was one of the better seasons the Browns had at the end. But at the same time, I mean, I know people make big narratives out of things that happen on Hard Knocks, but trust me, I was surprised it went that way. But I get it. When you're 1-31 and the team hadn't won, people want everybody to be quiet, be, tight-lipped. You don't have skirmishes, you don't have disagreements and all that. I understand that part of it. That's not the real world. The real world is those happen each and every day, and you have to work through them and you navigate through them and you keep going.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Coach. And another question we have about that is Jarvis Landry's famous speech on there. A lot of people say that is actually a turning point in the organization, him changing the culture kind of right there in front of everyone's eyes. Do you agree with that? Do you think that's kind of a turning point in the Browns organization?
Well, absolutely. The coaches can't do it by themselves. You have to have enough players who know what it takes to get people over the top. So what you saw was a guy's true passion about winning and doing things right, and why some things just wasn't acceptable, for him when it came to winning. And he was challenging the room to take it to another level. And they did. And that's what it's all about.
Man, watching that, Coach, I wanted to run through a brick wall. I was ready to go, man. It was very incredibly motivating. And I think that's the appeal of Hard Knocks, is it gives fans who live, eat, and breathe these teams this inside look that no one else has the privilege to. And you get to see, I'm sure there are, players who give speeches like that every season. It just so happens.
No, there's not players that give like speeches like that.
Oh man.
Now, Ray Lewis, you're around Ray Lewis. He's the best speech giver in the world. You're around Jarvis Landry. It's their passion. The great players have something else that's in them, and it comes out. And the Browns have a few great players on their team that it means the world to them, and they're not accustomed to losing. Well, you got to remember that's an organization that lost a lot.
Thank you for correcting me.
That didn't fit. And I was the same way my first year. You're gung-ho because I didn't come from a losing organization. I came from a winning one.
Yeah.
And then it starts to beat you down. And so you have to learn from that and overcome that. And Jarvis wasn't going to let it happen.
Love that.
So are you saying, Coach, you would say Jarvis is one of those guys that, yes, he produces on the field, but maybe off the field, he's just as, if not more important to an organization?
Oh, absolutely. Because he's the heartbeat. I mean, there's other glamour guys, but you got to have some real glue guys. And he's a glue guy because he's going to work every day. And when guys get out of line, he's not afraid to challenge them. And that's what you have to have.
It's just incredible stuff right there. Another really kind of like intimate moment, Coach, that we, got a behind the scenes look, deals with you personally, when you experienced the loss of your mother. And I think it's so easy to forget that coaches, athletes, even politicians, and that's where we'll stop. These are real people that have real feelings and that go to bed every night and they think about, how they responded, what they said. How was it living out those moments, Coach, in front of millions of people?
Oh, that was tough. But people didn't know I lost my brother 2 weeks before that. So I lost my brother 2 weeks before that, then my mom 2 weeks after that. And I went and spent one day burying my mom, and I'm right back in the office trying to hold the team together, an organization together, and keep it moving forward. That's tough. A lot of people wouldn't have done what I did that way. It might have took a little time off, but I didn't feel like I could. That wasn't a situation I thought I could. But it is what it is. You learn from it, you grow from it, you move on. But I was thankful for what the show did. They dedicated that show to my mom. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was a tough time.
Was that one day, was that your choice and your decision, or were they like, hey, we need you back here?
No, that was my decision. I flew down there. Mr. Haslam was gracious enough to let me use his plane to get my family down there. Went to the funeral, got back, and you got to go back to work. That's what my mother would have wanted. And that's what I thought I needed to do.
Well, it was inspiring to, see you persevere and handle that with grace. And there was a moment where you just kind of like hung your head and you're fighting back tears. And it was really deep, Coach. So
thank you.
I know we had, people all over just kind of feeling for you. Another, very kind of like behind the scenes look we got was this kind of like infamous coaches meeting scene.
Yeah.
That is another one that's kind of outlived Hard Knocks. We were talking pre-show. Conflict is, and you mentioned it as well, like conflict happens in organizations when you're striving towards goals. That it was weird watching it, not understanding maybe how that is true sometimes. Was it as weird sitting there in the meeting?
Oh yeah, no, it was. And as I said to you earlier, this happens everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe not to this extent, but it does happen in 31 other organizations. There's something that people are not going to agree on. The reason why I thought this one was different is because to say that the way it came across is like we were letting players out of practice for no reason, that they needed to practice. I would hope everybody understands that those things are decided way before you start practice.
Right.
You know who's going to be out of practice, when, why, the situation. And if you guys really think through it, the two coaches who brought it up were two coaches that hadn't been there. So it wasn't the coaches that were already on my staff that was saying, hey, Hugh, we need to get these guys going. Those two coaches that hadn't been in our organization, that didn't know all of the history that led to that, all of the hamstring, soft tissue issues that the Browns had prior to me coming there.
Sure.
We didn't have none. We didn't have none in 2016. We had none in 2017. We wasn't going to have none in 2018 because we developed a plan on how to, the guys who had those soft tissue injuries, to make sure they didn't have them. We knew what it took. And so we had two coaches that I was disappointed in because we covered all that prior to going to training camp. So why is it coming up now? Yeah. So I don't know. I have no idea why. But again,
Coach, are you hinting at that you think that Todd Haley was trying to sabotage you right there?
Oh,
like that was an effort that he knew on TV what he was doing.
You that all the other if you really sit back and think about it, there's no coach on my staff that had been there. That this question. Here's two new coaches that's never been there. So why isn't everybody else chiming in? Because they had already been through it and they know these things have been covered. So either these guys didn't take notes when we went through all this, didn't care, or whatever it was. But that was a very really stupid time to bring up why Duke Johnson's not practicing. Yeah, I mean, Duke Johnson wasn't practicing because if he practiced that day, he got a chance to pull a hamstring, and we wouldn't have him. So I just thought that was just.
So there are good situations and bad situations, Coach. You can learn lessons in every situation. You can learn just as much from bad situations. What are some leadership lessons you took from your time with the Browns?
Don't trust people. Trust your contract first and foremost. If it's not in your contract, it doesn't matter. That's the first thing I learned. Number two, make sure that it's truly all about winning. Your contract never talks about losing. The contract talks about winning. So if you are going to a place, if I'm going to stand up in a press conference and talk about winning, then we should be trying to win. We shouldn't be losing. And I just think that contract for a coach, from a leadership standpoint, is what lets you be a leader. When you lose too much, you can't lead. Nobody's going to hear you after a certain period of time, because you're not winning battles. The other thing is, you mentioned the Hard Knocks thing. I mean, could I have edited that out? Yeah, but that's real. Those things happen. And the way people took it, I think, like I said to you earlier, being a 1-31 coach, people wanted me to shut up. But I hate to tell them I was the head coach. So that's what you do as the head coach. You can't shut up and run because everybody else wants you to shut up because you 1-31. That doesn't work. So I wasn't worry about that. I did what I thought was right at the time, and I don't look back on those things. But I could have edited it out and said, "Hey, that's not going to be seen," because everybody's going to look at me a different way. I could care less what people thought.
Yeah. So, would you say that would kind of be how your situations in Cincinnati, Oakland, and Cleveland were different? Was just some of the communication with the team?
No, we didn't do anything any different. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
okay.
I don't remember my teams and the Raiders being different. I don't remember Marvin doing anything different. We had Hard Knocks. You know, it was what it was, but we didn't have people questioning things that we already had covered. I mean, because that's what pros do. You say it, they understand it, we move on from it. Those questions would have came up as soon as we got ready for training. That's why you come back 4 or 5 days early to talk about all these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Coach, we're going to take a quick break. Stick around. When we come back, we're going to talk about the current Browns team. We're going to look at Jadeveon Clowney, kind of the mindset of a coach heading into the draft. And then we're going to talk a little bit about Baker Mayfield and where he stands in the NFL quarterback landscape. We'll be right back.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
Want to hear more about your favorite TV shows and movies that are on countless streaming services?
Then listen to Up Next with your new favorite hosts, me, Kristen Aviles,
And me, Christina Walter.
Every other week, we'll highlight one genre, but 2 movies or TV shows, one old and one new.
We'll let you know what's hot and what's not from your favorite
or least favorite
streaming services.
And be sure to stay tuned to the end of each episode where we shout out an artist whose name you should know for their talent in the industry.
So follow us to stay up to date with your favorite hosts from Up Next,
a part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
You've been pining, you've been waiting for Rega and Rhoda to get back together. We got you. Press Play Podcast. We're ready to go. We're going to have our podcast with everything that you want. Browns, Cavaliers, Indians, Ohio State, the national scene. Kenny Rhoda, Michael Regai back together again. Make sure you keep your ears open. It's happening right here on Press Play Podcast. See you then.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomenal CBD Store and PhenomenalCBD.com. That's like phenomenal, CBD.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being from the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, it's Tito, host of the Premier Fantasy Podcast. Get all the news and analysis you need to dominate your fantasy league. I've been doing this as long as anybody in the business. I can help give you the edge in your leagues. It's the Premier Fantasy Podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. I created this podcast to have hard conversations. Conversations that make us human but are also wildly uncomfortable. Conversations that help give voice to the voiceless and to the marginalized. Now you can listen to the entire first season on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Consider this your personal invitation to join the conversation.
All right, we are back with Coach Hugh Jackson on the Orange and Browns podcast, part of the Press Play Podcast Network. Coach, let's just talk about the current Browns team. This is one of the number one Browns fans podcast available, and I would just feel like we have this opportunity to talk to someone who knows this team makeup better than almost anyone. You were there for a lot of these players, and they were drafted, and they were rookies, or a lot of these cornerstone players. Coach, does it objectively kind of excite you to see a player like Myles Garrett paired potentially with Jadeveon Clowney on the defensive end and kind of what they got cooking on over there?
Oh, absolutely. This is on paper one of the most talented teams in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. So, and they built it. I mean, you have to give them credit. I mean, they've come from the doldrums when I was there and have a very talented team. everywhere. I don't know that there's a weak spot on that football team right now. And then when you talk about Myles Garrett, who's a generational talent, who's the cornerstone of one of the pieces of the organization, and you compare him with Jadeveon Clowney, that if he's healthy and ready to go, he's as good as anybody. It's going to make Myles Garrett even that much better.
Coach, this is probably an obvious question, but does that make it even harder to swallow this whole thing, that this team is so talented, and you, I'm sure, know that you could be maybe in the same position with this group of guys in the winning track if you would have got a little more time?
Well, I think I'm beyond it. So it's not, I'm happy for the fans. I'm happy for the players who've been the Joe Batonios, the guys who experienced so much losing, to now be experiencing winning and understanding what that looks like. And the whole time when those players were saying we needed more talent on the team, you go back, and I hate to do this, you go back and look at the 2016 and 2017 teams, you go, wow, it's not even close. So if they want, I hate to say it this way, but if an organization wants to put a coach in position to win, they can do that. So the head coach right now, Coach Stefanski, is in a great situation to win, and if you're not in a great situation to win, we see what that could be. So it doesn't bother me that way, but at the same time, I think if people would just really take a look, you go, wow, you could build a team now, but you could build one then. You had draft capital, you had money, you had space, you had all that. So why didn't you do it then? But you're doing it now. So, and they should do it now, because this is the time when they should be doing it.
Yeah, it does seem that the window is wide open for the team. I think the fans know it, the city knows it, the players know it. You're having players choose Cleveland over other NFL franchises, which is, I mean, as a fan, you're just like, wait, I know we had a terrible 2020, but this is just a dream we're living in, kind of, Coach.
When you see the players that are there, they have some winning players who perform at a high level. It's a great group. You have a good staff. I mean, that's a place where anybody would want to be. So they've done that part of it the right way, and kudos to them for that.
So the draft is just a couple weeks away. One of the reasons we wanted to have you on is as an NFL coach, I feel like you just have, again, just this incredibly unique perspective about what your mindset is going into the draft. Kind of help us fans who don't realize how much work and all that goes into draft night. What is the mindset of an NFL coach 2 weeks before the draft?
The most important thing 2 weeks before the draft is making sure you've crossed the T's and dotted all the I's on these players, from not just the on the field performance issue, but also off the field. How are they going to fit within your organization? You have your board somewhat lined up. Everybody has a mock draft that last week before the draft where, all the coaches pick a team and they start making picks. So you start getting a feel for where everybody may fall in the draft. And then there's a lot of excitement because you're going to get one of these pieces that's going to help your football team. And especially if you're a Browns team that's coming off a winning season, being in the playoffs, 11-5, beating Pittsburgh, with a whole nucleus of players coming back and some players that were injured. Now you're just loading up the boat. You're finding a real important piece that you feel like you need, whether it's offensively or defensively, to help get you over the hump. And I think they're in a prime position. I know you said it earlier, they're not drafting at the top of the draft, and they will probably not draft at the top of the draft for a long time. So they're in a premium spot at 26, 23. I hate to say it, in Cincinnati, that's always where we were. We either win a division,
perennial playoff team. Yep.
And then all of a sudden, that's where we're drafting. And we always got great players there. I mean, there's always a great corner, another receiver, defensive lineman. There's something there that can improve your team. And I think they'll work extremely hard trying to do that. So the head coach is excited. The coaches are excited because this pick is not going to make or break how good you are, but it could make or break how great you become. So it's important.
Yeah.
So, Coach, I got a question for you. So we actually had Phil Savage on right after Joe Thomas retired, and he told us some interesting stories about, like, a week before the draft, they started having some debates about Brady Quinn and Joe Thomas. Do you remember do you remember any cool little stories, like, a couple weeks before the draft, everyone's like, wait a minute, we really got to relook at something? Do you remember anything like that you could tell us?
The biggest debate was Myles Garrett versus Mitch Trubisky. I mean,
and how long did that, honestly, Coach, if you could tell us this, how long did that really go? Was that right up to very close to the draft? Or?
Yeah, it went on up until right before the draft.
Wow.
And we took Miles, and we took the right player for the right reason.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have to have that conversation, though. I mean, if you're the Browns and you need a quarterback and all the history of the team.
No, you don't have to have that conversation.
Okay.
You're saying, wait, Coach, are you saying that Miles is such a generational player, though? Miles is such a generational talent.
When the head coach is an offensive guy who coaches the quarterback, doesn't want a particular player, it shouldn't be an argument. There should be no argument. So that's what people have to understand. If you are having an argument, you're having one for the wrong reason. Because remember now, the goal in all this is to make the head coach successful, not to make the GM successful.
Yeah.
the coach the players. Now, if the GM wants to go coach the players, and let him have at it, but the coach has to coach the players. So,
coach, I don't think that you're vindicated. Obviously, I mean, time has shown that you were right, and you were right on that one. So we'll give you that.
Well, I think he was right on a couple more, Jay, because Coach Jackson, you also drafted the franchise quarterback that is the savior of the Cleveland Browns quarterback, Browns last name jersey. Like, it's done. We have a quarterback, Coach, and you were the coach that brought him in. How was it making that phone call to Baker?
It was awesome. I mean, it was an organizational decision. I think we all, myself, John Dorsey, our quarterback coach, we all went down and watched him work out. He was phenomenal. I mean, he did a great job throwing the football, did a great job in the interview process. You watch the tape. He showed why he was the Heisman Trophy winner, and he showed why he should be the first pick of the draft. And he had the right mentality. I think people don't understand fit, and how important that is. Baker's mindset and mentality was going to be the right fit for Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Every quarterback that was a first-round quarterback, I don't know if their mentality would have been the right fit for Cleveland, because it was a hard place where a lot of quarterbacks haven't done very well. And if that seeped into you at all, it could be a problem. Yeah. He could care less about that. He don't care about no jersey, all these names on it.
Yeah.
He gives a crap about that. All he wants to do is play and win. And so people don't understand he had the right makeup. So that was the other side for him, was having the right makeup in order for him to be able to thrive and be successful. So all of that goes into it. I mean, Josh Allen was as physically gifted as any quarterback, right?
Oh, now you're speaking Jeremy's language. Jeremy is a big
I'm a big Josh Allen guy.
Watson won Heisman. I mean, won unbelievable games, beat Alabama. I mean, he was tremendous. Patrick Mahomes could throw from all over the place. But the one thing we knew is that you had to have the right mindset to get Cleveland.
Yeah.
That it just seeped out of Baker. You could see it. Mm-hmm. You could, and that's what was needed, and that's what he's bringing to the organization.
And Coach, let's not forget another amazing moment that lived on was from the Baker's Pro Day with the hee 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 hee. Oh, I don't know if you know it, Coach, but that thing, people still talk about the hee hee.
Well, they can hee hee now. I hope they can see it.
Yeah.
Right. You were right on. Yeah.
That's what he's doing. That's why I laugh. I mean, people make those things turn into the narrative for the wrong reasons. If people stop and say, wait a minute, what he was trying to tell us, guy's a tremendous leader, and people follow him. Mm-hmm. That's just what the team's doing. And that's why he's winning. People don't dig into things. They just want to take it and make it what it is. The guy is a tremendous leader. He knows what he's doing. He's a really good quarterback. He's proven that he's one of the best quarterbacks that's in that class. Mm-hmm. He's leading his teams to win right now, and he's on the cusp of becoming a really great player if they continue to surround him and do the things that he needs to do in order to continue to get better.
Coach, you've been so gracious with your time. If we could have maybe 10 more minutes, I want to do this exercise with you and Jeremy kind of bouncing off. I want to just really quickly list off the starting quarterbacks, the NFL, and you tell me if that team would rather have Baker Mayfield as their quarterback. It shouldn't take too long. I feel like it's a yes or no, and then we'll go from there. The first, I'll just alphabetical order: Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray. Coach Jackson, would they take Baker Mayfield over Kyler Murray?
No.
Jeremy?
I agree. No.
I also agree. I don't think the Cardinals would take Baker over Murray. Falcons with Matt Ryan.
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yeah, at this point, yes. I'm a yes.
Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson.
Yes.
Ooh, I'm going to say no, but I will reevaluate after the year.
So I think internally they'd be split. I don't know, Coach. I'm not high on Lamar. I've been not
I
that
am.
anyone cares at all, but I'm with you. The Bills and Josh Allen.
No.
No.
The Panthers and Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Yes.
Chicago Bears and Andy Dalton.
Yes.
Yes.
The Bengals and Joe Burrow.
No.
No.
I agree. No. The Broncos and Drew Lock.
Yes.
Yes.
Cowboys and Dak Prescott.
No.
No, I don't think so either.
Ooh, I think they would.
I'm a Dak guy. I mean, Dak, when he's on the field, is a tremendous player, man.
Okay. Yeah. The Lions with Jared Goff.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
The Packers at this age, Aaron Rodgers, would they trade that for Baker Mayfield?
No.
Yeah, I still say no. I still think he's got 3 years where he's going to be a top quarterback. So no.
I think they would. I think they would.
Oh, come on.
They drafted that guy. Like what?
I don't care who they drafted.
Exactly. Right. He's got 3 years to be in the league.
Yeah. Well, he might be hosting Jeopardy here next. I don't know what's going on. The Texans with Deshaun Watson.
No.
Well, yeah, I don't think so either.
Okay. I think they would. The Colts with Carson Wentz.
Yes.
Yep. The Jaguars, the first pick will say Trevor Lawrence. Would they trade right now Lawrence for Baker?
Yes.
I'm going to say no.
Okay. I don't know if they would. This is
I don't know. The Urban saw Baker up close and personal. What do you remember?
Yeah. That flag plant.
You
planted the flag.
NFL player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Proven. Yeah. You're right. Yep. Mahomes, the Chiefs would not. I'm not even going to ask that because that's a stupid question. The Raiders with Carr.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep. The Chargers with Herbert.
No.
I don't think they would either. The Rams with Stafford.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think they would too. The Dolphins and Tua or whoever they draft.
Yes.
Yes.
That was a emphatic yes. The Vikings with Cousins.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Patriots with Cam / whoever.
Yeah, because we know the Patriots like him.
Coach, did the Patriots? Did you ever field calls from the Patriots for?
Is that true?
About who?
But about Baker. Remember the stories that they loved Baker?
No. I didn't. Maybe somebody else did. I know I did.
The Saints with Jameis and Tyson Hill. Or Taysom.
Yes.
Giants and Daniel Jones.
Yes.
I love this. The Jets with their rookie quarterback.
Yes.
The Eagles with Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
This is my favorite segment of all time in this show. I just want everyone to know.
Coach Chase is the biggest Baker fan in the history of Baker. So
well, I said we was going to draft Baker, and you and King Carmen laughed at me. You guys laughed at me because I was ridiculous. But I saw that same thing, Coach. I was like, that dude's a leader, and he can handle the Cleveland crap show. The Steelers with Roethlisberger. Come on.
Yes, obviously at this point.
Yeah. The 49ers and their rookie or Jimmy G.
Yes.
The Seahawks with Russ right now.
No.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. I don't care how mad Pete Carroll is. No.
Okay. The Buccaneers with Tom Brady.
No. He's a good.
See, I think this is where I'm torn on this one because I think for 1 year, of course, you take Brady if you're playing one more year. Just because of the intangibles. Over a 3-year period, maybe.
The Titans with Tannehill.
Yeah, Tannehill's pretty good. That might be closer than you think.
Coach has paused.
Baker.
He's taking Baker. And the Washington football team with Heineke.
Yes.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 8 teams that Baker's a top 10 quarterback.
10. He is. I don't think that can be disputed. I think he's top 10.
Oh, there's no doubt.
The odds were released today for NFL MVP. Baker's at 33-1. Coach, you a gambling man?
Oh, I gamble a lot.
There you go. 33-1.
Is that good value? 33-1 on Baker right there to be the MVP?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because their team is improvement. It just all depends on how they get started this year.
Love it. 33-1. It's really weird being a Browns fan doing this late in the draft, having people say they were like Super Bowl contenders. And Coach, I have to say, it really wouldn't be possible without you, without the and I'm trying to this big picture, whatever plan they had, it seemed to have worked. And it's
long term. What plan they had was wrong, first of all. Okay, because you can't end people's careers for future gain. I think that's wrong. I think if you guys know me at all, I like to win too much.
Yeah.
I never would have left Cincinnati to take a job where I was going to lose. You don't take any job to lose.
Yeah.
And if you guys study players, you study teams, you go back and look at those teams in 16, 17, you tell me how many games they're going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just, again, I hear what you're saying. I mean, yeah, during those years, was there draft capital compiled, cap space worked on, all those things? Absolutely. For somebody else in the future. Because if you could do it then, if you can do it now, why couldn't you do it then?
Yeah.
You didn't want to. So everything I've been saying, I'm sure you guys have seen it all. I don't have a reason to lie whatsoever. I just think what was done to me, my staff, some of the players is done wrong. I'm glad the Browns, and again, people get mad at me from Cleveland because they think I'm bitter. I'm not bitter about them winning right now. I want every team to win, especially any team I've been involved with. What I'm disappointed about is how they did it. You shouldn't pull the wool over people's eyes and set people up for failure in order for you to win in the future. I think that's wrong.
And I wasn't trying to get into that. I was just like, Coach,
I know you
put a lot of
into it because you said, hey, Hugh, you're part of this. I am a part of it. I am a part of the history of how bad it was to get to how good it is. It never had to be that bad, is all I'm trying to say. That's beyond anybody's thought. It never had to go there to get to where you were today.
Yeah.
You can still get to where you are today and still been doing the other part of it right.
Well, thank you for your sacrifice, for all the work you put into the team. You probably don't get thanked a lot.
No,
you
I get screamed at by
Cleveland, man, and that's unfair. And so just thank you for the hard work and the time away from your family and all of that, Coach. Just thank you for that. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for being on the show tonight, Coach. Thank you,
Sure.
Jeremy. Thank you as well.
Coach, thank you. That was great, man. That was great. Thank you so much for all the honest answers.
All right, guys. Hey, take care of yourself. Best wishes and go Browns.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
That does it for this episode of The Orange is Oranger. Thank you so much for downloading and listening. Shouts to the Press Play Podcast Network for making this possible. Visit pressplaypodcast.com for sponsorship info and to see how you could host a show on the network. Shouts to Manscaped providing us with the smoothest shave in our most sensitive area. Promo code Oranger at checkout for 20% off and free shipping. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at OrangeIsOranger. So we're trying to reach a 5K threshold. Help us out, would ya? Shouts to special guests, Coach Jackson and Jeremy. We broke some news, man. We did not expect that.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. I mean, hey, no matter what you say about Hugh, he's a passionate guy. He obviously felt like he got a raw deal, felt like things weren't honest. But hey, I thought he was upfront with us. He's obviously knows football, and we wish him nothing but the best. And yeah, breaking news with us. That's pretty cool.
All right. Well, hey, we'll be back here in a couple weeks, talk about the draft. And until then, you guys be good, be safe, and we'll catch you later.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Hoo, hoo.
Anything less is impossible. For the USA.